Hey guys, it's your girl, I.am.Tiffanee. So, I started reading this book a week ago, and I only took like 1 day off, 1 or 2 days break, and it's so in total it took me like 5 or 6 days to read this book. It's so good, it's so mind blowing, and when I was towards finishing, I was like, damn, I want to read this book again. And Spirit told me, okay, Tiffany, what do you think about doing it, reading the book live, like just recording yourself reading the book? I was like, oh my God, that's kind of crazy. Okay. I don't know how that's going to work out, but shit. There's people who became, you know, successful or popular or just out there playing video games, playing with toys, opening toys, other stuff, eating food. So I was like, Spirit was like, Tiffany, go ahead and just start reading books live and see where that takes you. Like a month ago, I was like, Spirit, I'm loving this journey that I'm on. My spiritual journey it's been mind blowing. It's been eye opening. It's been heaven. It's been heaven. And I was like, I'm ready to learn as much as I can. You know, all about the spiritual world and spiritual journey and enlightenment and everything that comes in that world, in that realm. And ever since I said that, I've just been coming across these videos and just learning things, and these people who I started to follow, and um, books I've come across, and it's just been learning a lot, continuing on my spiritual journey. And then doing readings, tarot readings, like opening up to that, and getting more skilled and just getting more comfortable and confident and in my true zone and in my true element. And I came across this book and I was like, let me start reading books, more books, spiritual journey books. And Spirit told me to record doing that, do it online, do it live, and start a book journey. Book club. I was like, okay, I'm with that. So I don't know how it's gonna go, but Spirit told me to do it, so I'm gonna do it. Shit. I used child. Anyways, the Celestine prophecy. Guys, this is a really, really good book. If you don't know anything about a spiritual journey, or you're just at a you've at a crossroads in your life where what you've been doing, you don't feel like it's you anymore, like you're transitioning in life and you're feeling lost because like maybe you don't know what to do or where to go, or if you want to continue doing what you're doing, and you're just like at that time in that moment in your life, right? And maybe you're noticing you're probably the only person in your environment, in your life, that's going through that. And maybe you don't have anybody there to help you through your spiritual journey, to guide you, you know through this, guide you in the right direction. Of course, you have spirit. When you have your spiritual journey, you have spirit. But when you're just getting out of like your past, who you were yesterday, who you were before, my spirit's always there, but you're still in your ego, you're still in your human mind. So that buffer between being your just 3D self and your ego self, and then opening yourself up to the universe, to spirit, is kind of like you need guidance, wondering, like, are you crazy, are you tripping, or is this connection that I'm feeling really real, right? So I was there. Truly, I've been there. I opened up 2014, 2014, and it's just been going downhill and uphill at the same time. But this past year, last year, is when it really. Every since 2014, I've been having awakenings, like slowly but surely, But this past year, still technically since the end of last year, is when, like, you know, major awakenings, major enlightenment, and it's just been mind blowing, mind opening. So I came across this book that a girl that I follow on TikTok, she's doing her spiritual journey, doing what she does, and she named a list of books that she read, and she said her favorites. I first bought this one. I bought two other books, and I read it 5 days, 6 days, and it's so good. Like towards the end, I wanted to cry. I felt like my spirit cried. Like this is a good book. Like honestly, a really good book. And how the book is read, it's a person going pretty much explaining his life journey, his life experiences, going through his spiritual awakening and enlightenment. So it's not like a self-help book where it's telling you step by step by step how to get through it. No, I mean it is, but it's telling you in a life experience journey. It's awesome. Get this book. But with me starting my book club, I'm just gonna read. You know, it's weird, but I'm with it and I'm gonna read the book, and then at points in times I'll probably stop and give my personal experience, or just be like, "Did you just see that?" It's not just straight reading the book. Hopefully I can put my little spunk and spaz into it, because when I was reading it, that's what I did in my mind. I was like, "What? I remember that. I went through that. Oh man, you right there." So. Yeah, and I want to start, I want to be able to take notes, but I'm a horrible note taker. I've always been, even all throughout school. I never really took notes unless the teacher put it on the screen and I wrote down everything it was written down. But the notes taking in my head, I don't know. But maybe y'all like to take notes, and y'all can do that, because the reason why I started a book club is to help with our spiritual enlightenment, help with our spiritual journey. Okay, so obviously you're gonna want to take notes, because you're gonna learn things here and there, right? So do that. I'm excited. I don't care how this following is gonna go, how this journey on live gonna go. I don't care. I'm excited because this book, and I'm pretty sure more books to come, because I have another book that I already have right after this. I'm excited. And I'm excited to share this with y'all. Honestly, I am. This lighting makes me feel like I am kind of sleepy, but I don't need to look like it. Hold on a second. All right. Let's get this party started. I am so excited. Otherwise, I'll just be reading to myself, and that's fine. Shit, it's like doing a vlog for myself and taking verbal notes. That's the type of notes I take, is talking to myself, not writing it down. Okay, let's get this started. So, the Celestine Prophecy by James Redfield. And I'm starting from the very, very, very beginning. Well, not the notes, because not the notes, but the reviews. Okay. The author's note. This is going to be so interesting. Yes, this is so cool. I'm on live, just chilling, reading the book. Let's see where this takes me. For more than half a century, a new consciousness has been entering the human world, an awareness that could only be called transcendence, deeply spiritual. If you find yourself reading this book, then perhaps you already sense what is happening already and feel it inside. Okay, the reason why I kind of paused a little bit is because I just thought about my book mark. I do a reading for myself, a daily oracle divine reading for myself, and use it as a bookmark. And the card I got today was Warrior Woman. Have you answered your deepest calling? How interesting. I got this card for today when I decided last night that I was going to start my book club reading today. And ever since that thought came to mind, I was like, Spirit, let me know if this is what you want me to do. Is this what I'm supposed to do? Is this part of my journey, my destiny to do this book club? I mean, I'm down for it, but I wanted to mean something, to take off somewhere, eventually. And I'm like, Spirit, just let me know. Show me signs. Let me know. So of course I did a reading for myself, and yes, and saying yes, boo boo, get to it. Don't procrastinate. Don't doubt. Don't fear. No fears. Don't doubt. Just do it, Tiffany. This is part of your journey. Okay? Just be you, baby. Be you. And find the beauty in everything. This is beautiful. This book is beautiful. The books I've read is beautiful. And what I'm doing, I feel like this is beautiful. And I'm glad I'm doing this. Okay? Anyways. So yeah, I'm going to look because my ass. Okay. Back to the reading. At this at this moment in history, we seem to especially attuned to our own life process, to those coincidental events that have meaning in our lives and that occur at just the right time, bring forth just the right individuals to suddenly send our paths to in a new inspiring direction. Perhaps more than in any other time period, we seem to intuit higher meaning in these mysterious happenings. We know that life is really about a spiritual unfolding that is personal and enchanting and magical, an unfolding that no philosophy or religion has yet fully clarified. And when okay, I'm a little nervous, guys. Okay, but I know I'm gonna get the hang of it. So, and I'm not the perfect reader. I mean, I know how to read, but I mean, y'all, I'm live. I've never read for anybody before, but my child, and she always be wanting me to read for her. So bear with me, okay? Okay. We know something else as well. We know that once we do understand what is happening and how to turn on this growth and keep it on, the human world will take a quantum leap into a whole new way of life, one that has been struggling to achieve throughout human history. The following story is offered toward this new understanding. If it touches you, it if it crystallizes something that you perceive in your life, then pass on what you see to another. For I think our new awareness of spirit. Okay. For I think our new awareness of the spiritual is expanding in just this way. No longer through hype or fad, but personally through a kind of positive contagion among people. All any of us have to do is suspend our doubts and distractions just long enough, and miraculously, this reality can be our own. James Redfield, Fall 2018. Okay, let me get comfortable, child, because, baby, I'm reading a book for people. Okay, get comfortable. Got my little lap desk, just to comfort my arms. All right, a critical mass. I drove up to the restaurant and parked, then leaned back in my seat to think for a moment. Charlene, I knew, would already be inside waiting to talk to me. But why? I hadn't heard a word from her in 6 years. Why would she have shown up now, just when I had sequestered myself in the woods for a week? I stepped out of the truck and walked toward the restaurant. Behind me, the last glow of a sunset sank in the west and cast highlights of golden amber across the wet parking lot. Everything had been drenched in an hour earlier by a brief thunderstorm, and now the summer evening felt cool and renewed, and because of the fading light, almost surreal. A half moon hung overhead. I wonder what moon it is today because it's raining outside. I'm like, ooh, the coincidences. As I walked, old images of Charlene filled my mind. Was she still beautiful, intense? How would time have changed her? And what was I to think of this manuscript she had mentioned? This ancient artifact found in South America that she couldn't wait to tell me about. I have a 2 hour layover at the airport, she had said. on the telephone. Can you meet me for dinner? You're going to love what this manuscript says. It's just your kind of mystery. What kind of mystery? What did she mean by that? Inside, the restaurant was crowded. Several couples waited for tables when I found the hostess. She told me Charlene had already been seated and directed me toward a terrace. Okay, we're gonna get all these words right, okay? Like I said. Terrace area above the main dining room. I walked up the steps and became aware of a crowd of people surrounding one of the tables. The crowd included two policemen. Suddenly, the policeman turned and rushed past me and down the steps. As the rest of the people dispersed, I could see past them to the people who seemed to have been the center of attention, a woman still seated at the table. Charlene. I quickly looked up to her. Charlene, what's going on? Is anything wrong? She tossed her head back to mock expression. Ah, aspiration. It stood up, flashing her famous smile. I noticed that her hair was perhaps different, but her face was exactly as I remembered. Small, delicate features, wide mouthed, huge blue eyes. You wouldn't believe it, she said, pulling me into a friendly hug. I went to the restroom a few minutes ago, and while I was gone, somebody stole my briefcase. What was in it? Nothing of importance, just some books and magazines I was taking along for the trip. It's crazy. The people at the other tables told me someone just walked in, picked it up, and walked out. They gave the police a description and the officer said they would search the area. Maybe I should help them. Maybe I should look Maybe I should help them look. No, no, let's forget about it. I don't have much time and I want to with you. I nodded and Charlene suggested we sit down. A waiter approached, so we looked over the menu and gave them our order. Afterward, we spent 10 or 15 minutes chatting in general. I tried to underplay my self imposed isolation, but Charlene picked up my vagueness. She leaned over and gave me that smile again. So, what's really going on with you? She asked. I looked at her eyes, at the tense way she was looking at me. You want the whole story? Immediately, don't you? Okay. Always, she said. Well, the truth is, I'm taking some time for myself right now and staying at the lake. I've been working hard and thinking about changing directions in my life. I remember you were talking about the lake. I thought you and your sister had to sell it. Not yet, but the problem is property taxes because the land is so close to the city, the taxes keep increasing. She nodded. So what are you going to do next? I don't know yet. Something different. She gave me an intriguing look. Sounds as if you're as restless as everyone else. I suppose, I said. Why do you ask? It's in the manuscript. There was a silence as I returned her gaze. Tell me about this manuscript, I said. She leaned back in her chair as if to gather her thoughts, then looked me in my eye again. I mentioned on the phone, I think, that I left the newspaper several years ago and joined a research firm that investigates cultural and demographic changes for the UN. My last assignment was in Peru. While I was there completing some research at the University of Lima, I kept hearing rumors about an old manuscript that had been discovered. Only no one could give me any details, not even at the departments of archaeology or anthropology. And when I contacted the government about it, they denied any knowledge whatsoever. One person told me about the government was actually working to suppress this document for some reason, although, again, he had no direct knowledge. You know me, she continued. I'm curious. When my assignment was over, I decided to stay around for a couple of days to see what I could find out. At first, every lead I pursued turned out to be another dead end. But then, while I was eating lunch in a cafe outside of Lima, I noticed a priest watching me. After a few minutes, he walked over and admitted that he had heard me inquiring about the manuscript earlier in the day. He wouldn't reveal his name, but he agreed to answer all my questions. She hesitated for a moment, still looking at me intensely. He said the manuscript dates back to about 600 BC. It predicts a massive transformation in human society. Beginning when? I asked. In the last decades of the 20th century. Now? Wait, hold on. She hesitated. Okay, I'm trying to get the conversation, the facial expressions, and the energy right. Okay. She hesitated for a moment, still looking at me intensely. He said the manuscript dates back to about 600 BC. It predicts a massive transformation in human society. Beginning when? I asked. In the last decades of the 20th century. Now? Yes, now. What kind of transformation is this supposed to be? I asked. She looked embarrassed for a moment and then, with force, said, the priest told me it's a kind of renaissance in consciousness occurring very slowly. It's not religious in nature, but it's spiritual. We're discovering something new about human life on this planet, about what our existence means, what our existence mean, and according to the priest, this knowledge will alter human culture dramatically. She paused, then added, the priest told me the manuscript is divided into segments or chapters, each devoted to a particular insight into life. The manuscript predicts that in this time period, human beings will begin to grasp these insights sequentially, one insight for then another, as we move from where we. Okay, hold on. That word just fucked me up. Okay, one insight, then another, as we move from where we are now to completely spiritual culture on Earth. I shook my head and raised one eyebrow cynically. Do you really believe all this? Well, I said, I think. Look around, I interrupted, pointing at the crowd sitting in the room below us. This is the real world. Do you see anything changing out here? Just as I said that, an angry remark erupted from a table near the far wall. A remark I couldn't understand, but which was loud enough to hush the entire room. At first, I thought the disturbance was another robbery, but then I realized it was only an argument. A woman appearing to be in her 30s was standing up and staring indignantly at a man sitting across from her. No, she yelled. The problem is that this relationship is not happening the way I wanted it. Do you understand? It's not happening. She composed herself, tossed her napkin on the table, and walked away. Here we go. See, I'm getting my energy, okay? Getting theatrical. This is my acting, okay? I never said I was an actor, but this is my acting. Charlene, Charlene and I stared at each other, shocked that the outburst had occurred at the very moment we were discussing the people below us. Finally, Charlene nodded toward the table where the man remains alone and said, "It's the real world that's changing." How? I asked, still off balance. The transformation is beginning with the first insight, and according to the priest, this insight always surfaces unconsciously at first as a profound sense of restlessness. Restlessness? Yes. What are we looking for? That's just it. At first glance, we aren't sure. According to the manuscript, we're beginning to glimpse an alternative kind of experience. Moments in our lives that feel different somehow, more intense and inspiring, but we don't know what this experience is or how to make it last. And when it ends, we're left feeling dissatisfied and restless with life, and that seems ordinarily again. You think this restlessness was behind this woman's anger? Yeah, duh. Yes, she's just like the rest of us. We're all looking for more fulfillment in our lives, and we won't put up with anything that seems to bring us down. This restless searching is what's behind the me first attitude that this characterized re- recent decades, and it's affecting everyone from Wall Street to street gangs. Okay, do y'all understand that? So she's this guy's friend, which I'm starting to notice. He never said his name throughout the whole book. I don't think, at least not the beginning. So the author never really said that this was exactly him or this is exactly what he went through. At least not in the book. So I don't know if this is with the writer being James. I don't know if this is James' actual story or what, because he doesn't say this person's name, the main character, right? So, anyways, his friend Charlene is telling him about this manuscript, about how it's supposed to help all of humanity raise their uh, change humanity into a better state. Basically, she didn't say exactly how. And he's like, how? Like a manuscript that was written in 600 BC is telling you what's going to happen in the last 2 decades of the, when did he say? Hold on. Massive transformation in human society. He's like beginning when in the last decades of the 20th century. So he's like, so you telling me something that was written in 600 BC is predicting what's going to happen in 1990, basically, right? The last 2 decades of the 20th century, 1990. No, not 1980. No, last decades or around that time, 1990. So he's like, man. And so when he's doubting it, she's telling him, and he's doubting it. And right when he doubted it, something happened in the far distance because they're all in a restaurant, and the lady is telling the dude she's sitting with, like, I'm tired of this shit. This relationship ain't working the way I expected it, and I ain't want it no more. I want to be happy, right? And so Charlene and this dude, I'm guessing James. I'm just gonna go by James because he don't say his name in the writing. So this guy, Charlene's like, see, this woman fed up. You can see everybody's restless. Everybody's tired. Everybody's tired of settling. Everybody's tired of just going through this machine of a life of just everyday things. Every day being, work, go to work and tend to the kids and do it. It's like the same every day. It's the same thing, same boring shit when we're doing for others. And when you're in a relationship, it's like usually it's more give, or just kind of more one sided. Like the energy, the balance is not always the energy is not always balanced in relationships for the most part. Not all relationships, right? To where it becomes a power struggle. Someone's more stronger in a relationship than the other, while the other is submits, which is usually the females. Not always. So Charlene is like, see, that's a prime example. Insight. The first insight is about. What did she start saying? Telling it. She was telling about with this manuscript. The manuscript explains is divided into segments or chapters, each devoted to a particular insight into life. The manuscript predicts that in this time period, human beings will begin to grasp these insights sequentially, in sequence. I can't. One insight, then another, as we move from where we are now to a completely spiritual culture on Earth. Um, Meaning, like, beginning 1990, around that time, humanity is changing. People are waking up. And waking up in masses because, with social media. When did social media come out? Isn't that around the time? No, hell no, not 1990. But I guess maybe TV, media. They didn't have social media, but they did have TV. And did they have, I'm pretty sure they had the internet. Uh, yeah. Woo. The first insights. Okay, the transformation is beginning with the first insight, and according to the priest, I should see. This is stuff that we should like highlight, right? I just don't really want to mark my book, but it's my book, so fuck it. Let me get this. I really don't want to mark my book. Last decades of the 20th century dates back to predicts a massive transformation in human society. Um, so the priest told me it's a kind of renaissance in consciousness. Renaissance in consciousness. If you look back, like I've just finished school, so one of my subjects I had did was history. If you look back on history, whether you went to school or you just a type of person who likes to read up on the history, uh, since as they call it the beginning of time, there's always been evolution. There's always been phases in time and in human in everything, right? And it's always a phase. Nothing has been the same throughout all of life, right? All of humanity. Because if that's the case, then we would all be animals. We would all be fish. We would all just be particles. All be stardust. That's what all it would be. But time has. Okay, I'm telling the story. Shit. Let me slow down because I'm kind of accidentally telling the story already. Uh, but Renaissance is just the ending of something. It's a change, right? A phase occurring very slowly. It's not religious, nature, and spiritual. We are discovering something new about human. Okay, we're discovering something new about human life in this planet, about what our existence means, and according to the priest, this knowledge will alter human culture dramatically. Okay. The transformation is beginning with the first insight. According to the priest, the insight always surfaces unconsciously at first as a profound sense of restlessness. So that's what I was saying at the beginning. When you come across a time in your life when you're just tired, you're tired of the career that your job you're working at, the career field you've been working at, you're tired of a relationship, you're tired of just a lifestyle that you've been living, right? And you're ready for something different. Like you're restless. And baby, that's where I was 2014 amongst a lot of shit that was going on. Really 2 years before that. Because 2012, mind you, the reason why I'm so big about the spiritual journey now is because I got to this point in life, mind you, all for 10 years, starting at the age of 19. I worked in a nightclub from 19 years old to 29 years old. And it was fun, being just basically being free to do whatever I want to do, you know, and make money, fast money. But as I say, when you make fast money, you lose it fast. Well, not necessarily lose it, but when you're making big money, especially when you're not necessarily used to it, at least getting it on your own, then you don't really have the financial uh, knowledge or whatever, and how to invest in your money, how to use your money, make your money, and spend your money. So when I got it, it just flowed right through. Anyways, um, so 2012, I tried to stop the nightlife because I was tired of the life. It was fun and all, but it just wasn't me. I was growing and I didn't want to be in it anymore. But I went back, and then 2014, when a lot of crazy shit, a lot of like stuff was happening at that time, or really one major thing, I just stopped. I stopped cold turkey with no plan because it was like I remember when I was living in Miami, working out there, and I was like, God, I don't want to live this life no more. I'm not happy. I don't feel no connection to it no more. I don't want to do it no more. It's just I don't want to do it. I said, God, I'm ready. I'm ready for a better life, better everything, better and greater, and just be able to be me and be truly happy. And ever since I broke down and cried and prayed that and said that to God, that's when like the light switched in my life. That moment, that's when like the machine in my life, the train just started picking up, or it turned on. Okay, it started going forward because like I felt like my whole life from the past. I mean, I was living, it was a lot, but I wasn't living. So at that moment, that's when I started living. But it's like I started living as I was reborn. I was reborn in that moment. So I'm at a death in regards to realizing I can't do this shit no more. And then now that was a death. That was like an unexpected death, because if it was expected, I would have been planning for everything. I would have been planning my transition. But there was no plans. I stopped cold turkey. I completely died. And then when I broke down and cried, praying to God, saying I don't want to do this no more. I want a better life. I died in that moment and was rebirthed in that next second. I was a newborn. I was a baby. So I had a when I say a baby and newborn, like I had no experience in anything. I had been working in a nightclub, being a hustler for 10 years, since basically teenager. So I was 19. No experience. I went to school, but I didn't finish because I didn't know what I wanted to do. So basically, I had no education, no job experience. I was just coasting in that life, you know? And then once I decided to quit cold turkey, I'm literally a baby. I'm a newborn. And so I had to, one, heal for what had happened in my life, or, it wasn't my life, but, I had somebody that I really cared about, someone very close to me got murdered, literally murdered. And that hit me hard. And so I had to go deal with that. And then I was just lost. I was in a complete lost moment. I felt like a freaking newborn with no plans, no, no nothing. I was just a blank. I was just a blank uh, platter, a blank slate, a blank slate. There you go. So with that, I had a lot of healing to go through. And then to make matters even worse, but not worse, it wasn't even worse. But it may seem worse, but it really wasn't. I got pregnant, and I'm like, I'm over here trying to find my way, trying to figure out what the fuck I'm gonna do, not knowing what to do, and I get pregnant. That's not even the last thing on my list. It was never on my list, and it just happened. It's like, fuck. And then it's just what seemed like it kept going downhill. It really wasn't going downhill. I was really getting buried. I was like a seed. When I had a death and was rebirthed, I was a seed. And what felt like was going downhill, I was just like the fertilized soil was just getting thrown on top of me, right? And then no, it was already on top of me, but I was a seed. And then what felt like it was going downhill was really I was sprouting. My seed was sprouting underground, right? And eventually, to what really now, like since end of last year, my seed has sprouted the earth, like, you know. But that's why I'm like heavy in the spiritual journey. I'm heavy in following my intuition, heavy on whatever spirit says. I'm doing it, even if it don't make sense right now. I'm doing it, because ever since I completely gave myself 100% to spirit, to God, which was since like October, November, December of last year, but really since I quit my job, that's really when I was like, all right, my life is in your hands, spirit. Let's go. Take the wheel. You the wheel in the vehicle. I'm just coasting while actually working towards what you tell me to do. So, oh man, it's been like, if you was outside looking in, y'all probably like, but Tiffanee, da, 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 but I don't care. I don't care what shit look like. I know my vision, and once I've been following my vision, the messages, intuition, synchronicities, like life has been flowing, and at the end of the day, I have been and still is protected, taken care of, loved, and just completely connected to the universe. I'm so happy and feeling so free. I mean, at times, my ego try to creep in and want to try to scare me off, but nah, my faith in myself and in spirit is just getting stronger and stronger and stronger every day, right? And once I get back on that faith, because like I said, sometimes the ego want to creep in, but when I get my mind back right, the next day or so, baby, coincidences coincidences keep happening left and right, synchronicities off the chain, like baby, oh, I cry. My soul cries how happy I am, and doing this. which I don't think anybody's even watching right now. I mean, people have been coming in. I don't know if people are still watching, but this makes me happy. And I didn't mean to, you know, that was a little break because, like I told you, I'm reading, but I'm gonna put in my little 2 cents too because this ain't just no like a book, you know, sci-fi shit. This is real life shit. Spiritual journey. And I'm doing this book club. I'm reading books because I'm on my spiritual journey, you know? And for the fact that I'm not just starting my spiritual journey, like I've, you know, been past a lot of the steps, I can feel confident in doing this, like this book reading, the tarot cards that I do, is because one, I just feel like this is what I'm supposed to do. Two, I'm comfortable and confident to do it. And three, like I see a vision. And every vision I've been seeing since and the messages that I get, it's signs of synchronicities. It moves me forward. Let me say that. It moves me forward. Having faith in myself and faith in spirit. And it's just and faith in God. It's been working out for me. Anyways, let's get back to this reading because I completely interrupted it. Um, okay, so according to the manuscript, we're beginning to glimpse an alternative kind of experience. So during this time, they're like, you can see there's changes happening, right? But it's happening slowly because this is an individual journey. But the more individuals open their eyes, it's going to be more of a mass journey where everybody's like kind of going through the same thing. We're on the same frequency. Okay. Moments in our lives that okay. According to the manuscript, we're beginning to glimpse an alternative kind of experience. Moments in our lives, excuse me, that feel different somehow, more intense and inspiring. But we don't know what this experience is or how to make it last. And when it ends, we're left feeling dissatisfied, restless with life that seems ordinary again. And that's when the right before you awoken, you realize like life is just boring. I'm tired. I don't want to do this no more. There's got to be something else to life. You think this restless was behind this woman's anger. Okay, that's him asking. You think this restlessness was behind this woman's anger? Yes. She's just like the rest of us. We're all looking for fulfillments in our lives. And we won't put up with anything that seems to bring us down. Yeah, because hold on, let me finish this paragraph. This restlessness searching is what's behind the me first attitude that has characterized recent decades, and it's affecting everyone. Wall Street to the street gangs. Because I mean, if you look back in time, look in history. No, I'm not doing tarot reading right now. I'm just doing my book club, reading a book. You're welcome to join. Okay, so if you look past in the history of time of humankind, of humanity, or this country, like remember during the time, and I'm not good at the time schedules, the decades, but in the 80s, from like not 80s, but like the 1920s to what the 70s, 60s, 50s, where women were just wives and husbands was the head of household who did everything, and the wife just stayed home tended to the house and the kids. They had no right to vote. They couldn't get a job. And then time went on when they did all the Renaissance time, right? That's not what they called it, but Renaissance, I look at it as the end of an era where now women can vote, women can get a job, women don't have to be at home. But still during that time, women were more so focused at home raising the kids, but still trying to get out, go to school, go vote, and get a job, but like part time, right? And now, when did this start, Eric? Probably about the 80s to 90s, 2000s, when women are like, shit, the men are leaving the woman and her wife and kids at home, so, and the men is just going off with their lives. So the women is stuck with having to be a single woman and a single mother and raise the kids on her own, right? So it's like what this time what is it, 2020s, 2010s, 2000, where now women is like, we don't know, 2010s to 2020s, like women are like, we don't need a man at all. We got it all on our own. We can do everything. And which is cool or whatever, but it's not, because we do need men. Women need men. Men needs women. Not in the fact like, oh, as women we can't live without a man. Like we need them to survive. No, it's not about needing them to survive. We need to be together. That's all about humanity. That's all about spreading that love and building a legacy, and having more children. So if we're in this mentality of women being like, oh, we don't need a man for nothing, and then men is like, well, fuck y'all, blah blah blah, blah. Then how are we gonna have babies? How the next generation is gonna be made when y'all saying fuck each other? Or even worse, y'all saying fuck each other but still fucking each other and having babies. We don't want it. It's not, that's not normal, where men having putting babies in women but leaving them behind and having a woman to raise a kid by themselves. That's not how life is supposed to be. It's not how humanity is supposed to be. Power to the woman who is strong enough to raise their kids on their own and be a provider and a nurturer, but that's not how it's supposed to be. I'm not saying that women's not supposed to work. I'm just saying that it's supposed to be a family unit of love, of real, genuine love, of a man and a woman loving together in a loving relationship, partnership, and then having kids, and then raising their kids with love on love. That's how it's supposed to be. Okay? So, since we got deep into that, independent single women and single mothers, and then men living their life partying and being rolling stoners, like that's I think we're about to come into a time where we're getting out of that and realizing, like, I don't know when, it's slowly picking up, because this spiritual journey, this spiritual awakening, enlightenment is happening in masses, because we have social media, people posting about their experiences, and it's getting out there like spreading like wildflower. Oh, I'll take that. Wildflowers. So and then we're gonna get back to being, because spiritual enlightenment, your spiritual journey is all about being in the energy of love. Energy of love is a higher frequency. You're not saying loving, we all loving each other, which that is what it is, but it's just loving everything, not just loving another human being, another person. It's loving everything. Because when you're in the energy of love, you're in the energy of gratitude. When you're in the energy of gratitude, you're in a higher frequency. You're in a higher. Your vibration is higher, and when your vibration is higher, everything is beautiful. You attract everything that is meant for you, and we are. It's in our DNA to be abundance, prosperity. Yeah, we're not supposed to be working like slaves. You know what? It's in the book. Is it in the book, or where did I see that? Where did I hear that from? It's in the book. I'm about to tell the book. Baby, this is good. Okay, let me get back to the reading. I'm sorry. That was a interlude. Okay. I guess we'll probably just do one chapter a day. Since I'll be reading. I'll be talking in between. Okay, so she looked at me. She looked directly at me. And when it comes to relationships, we're so demanding that we're... Hold on. Let me get comfortable. She looked directly at me. And when it comes to relationships, we're so demanding that we're making them near impossible. Her remark brought back the memory of my last two relationships. Both had begun intensely and both within a year and had failed. When I focused on Charlene again, she was waiting patiently. Whoa, did I miss? Oh, okay, I'm gonna have to rewind. Hold on. You think this restlessness was behind this woman's anger? Yes. She's just like the rest of us. We're all looking for more fulfillments in our lives, and we won't put up with anything that seems to bring us down. This restless searching is what's behind the me first attitude that has characterized recent decades, and it's affecting everyone from Wall Street to street gangs. She looked directly at me. And when it comes to relationships, We're so demanding that we're making them near impossible. Her remark brought back the memory of my last two relationships. Both had begun intensely and both within a year had failed. When I focused on Charlene again, she was waiting patiently. What exactly are we doing in our romantic relationships? I asked. I talked with the priest a long time about this, she replied. He said that when both partners in a relationship are overly demanding, when each expects the other to live in his or her world, to always be there to join in his or her chosen activities, an ego battle inevitably develops, okay? Now, I'm marking down because this is the beginning phases of how everything starts to transition. So, with the first insight, this is when you're realizing like you're tired of the shit. When you got into the point where it's all about me, 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 and how's anything in life gonna flow in harmony when everybody's all about me, 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 me? No, that's ego talk. When we both okay, he said that when both partners are in a relationship are overly demanding, when each expects the other to live in his or her world, to always be there, and to join in his or her chosen activities, an ego battle inevitably develops. Ego battle. She said, when she said, what she said struck home. My last two relationships had indeed degenerated into power struggles. In both situations, we had found ourselves in a conflict of agendas. The pace had been too fast, and we had too little time to coordinate our different ideas about what to do, where to go, and what interests is to pursue. In the end, the issue of who would lead and who will determine the direction for the day had become an irresolvable difficulty. They weren't vibing together. They were in two different frequencies because they moved too fast. When you move too fast with somebody, you're really not learning about them. You're really not getting to really know them and not even know them like mentally, but know them, connect with them emotionally, connect with them spiritually. Because you be moving too fast, it takes time to do all that. Sometimes it even takes time to connect mentally. Nowadays in this generation, it's like quick to connect sexually, financially, materialistically, you know? Uh, Generate into power struggles. I'm outlining this because this is like when you realize shit be fucked up. Found ourselves in conflict of agendas. The pace had been too fast and had too little time to coordinate our different ideas and what to do, where to go, and what interest to pursue, which made it too difficult. Because of this control battle, when you're in your ego, you're more controlling and manipulative. Charlene continued, the manuscript says we will find it very difficult to stay with the same person for any length of time. Because of control battle, it's going to be hard to stay with the same person for a length of time. That doesn't seem very spiritual, I said. That's exactly what I told the priest, he replied. He said to remember that while most of society's recent ills can be traced to this restlessness and searching, this problem is temporary and to and it will come to an end. We're finally becoming conscious of what we're actually looking for and of what this other oh, we're finally becoming conscious of what we're actually looking for and what this of what this other more fulfilling experience really is. When we grasp it fully, we'll have attained the first insight. Lord. Basically, when you find your worth, when you find who you really are, you'll realize that what you've been doing, what you've been in, ain't you, and you deserve better. Not necessarily saying that the person you were with was a bad person, but just realizing like y'all not vibing, y'all not connecting. It's like, why continue waste my time when like we ain't. And but I think when people fall out of like and love with each other, I don't think it's that they realize that they're better than the other person. They just realizing that you got out of that puppy phase of realizing this is not more than just sex. This is not more than just a materialistic relationship. They're realizing like a person, one or the other or both, is realizing I deserve more, I want more, and I'm not getting it from this person or the situation. We're finally becoming conscious of what we're actually looking for, of what this other more fulfilling experience really is. But when we grasp it fully, we'll have attained the first insights. Our dinner arrived, so we paused for several minutes as the waiter poured more wine to taste each other's food. When she reached across the table to take a bite of salmon from my plate, Charlene wrinkled her nose and giggled. I realized how easy it was to be with her. Okay, I said, what is this experience we're looking for? What is the first insight? She hesitated as though unsure how to begin. This is hard to explain, she said, but the priest put it this way. He said the first insight occurs when we become conscious of the coincidences in our lives. When you finally realize you're fed up of how things have been and you wanting more for yourself, and you really serious, you putting your foot down, right? um, Coincidences are starting to happen because you're telling the universe, you're telling God, all right, I'm tired. I'm tired of how life has been with whomever or however, whatever life you've been living. You want more? God is like, all right, bet. Bing, turn on the light, wake you up. Coincidences start happening. But really, which it says in the book, I'm gonna say it. Coincidences, synchronicities always happens throughout your whole entire life, because that's coincidences and synchronicities is really just the universe talking to you. It's your spirit guides, your ancestors, your angels, God, spirit, the divine, whatever you believe, the higher force, the higher being. They've been talking to you your whole life, guiding you in the right direction. It's just we be so closed minded, we be asleep. Okay, we be in ego mode all throughout our lives, in our human brain, and not realizing, not seeing the signs and synchronicities the universe has always been showing us, until we are finally fed up of the mundane, of low energy activities and relationships and partnerships and jobs and all of that, and we're like, well, I want more, I deserve more. The universe flick on the lights, wake up, boo boo, let's get this shit started. Okay. Okay, he said the first insight occurs when we become conscious of the coincidences in our lives. She leaned toward me. Have you ever had a lunch? Not a lunch. Have you ever had a hunch or intuition concerning something you wanted to do? Some course you wanted to take in your life and wondered how it might happen? Okay, my reading is kind of like. Okay. She leaned toward me. Have you ever had a hunch or on concerning intuition concerning something you wanted to do, some course you wanted to take in your life, and wondered how it might happen, and then after you had half forgotten about it and focused on other things, you suddenly met someone or read something or went somewhere that led to the very opportunity you had envisioned. I don't know why it was hard for me to read that paragraph, but basically saying, have you ever thought about something, to your intuition, a hunch of to do something, something, a course that you wanted to take in your life, and wondered how what might happen, and then you forget about it, you stop thinking about it, and then suddenly meet someone or read something or went somewhere that led you to that very opportunity that you have envisioned, that very opportunity that just popped up in your mind, and you're like, damn, what I have randomly thought about before is actually happening. Well, she continued, according to the priest, these coincidences are happening more and more frequently. And that when they do, they strike us as beyond what would be expected by pure chance. They feel destined as though our lives have been guided by some unexplained force. The experience induces a feeling of mystery and excitement, and as a result, we feel more alive. Yes. Yes. Like think about it. Like when you're in the moment, you may not realize, but let's think about it now. Look back in your past and realize and remember random people that you ran into, random thoughts that happened, and random things happened in your life, and you went along with it, and it led to another random thing and another random thing, or meeting new people, or just whatever, and you realizing you was moving forward in your life, right? That's exactly what it is. It's just when you finally are fed up with the mundane and you're ready for something better, the coincidences that has always happened in your life, you're starting to realize it. You're starting to become conscious of it because you are ready and willing and are raising your vibration, raising your energy. These coincidences are happening more and more frequently, and that when they do, they strike us as beyond what would be expected by pure chance. They feel destined as though our lives have been guided by some unexplained force. As people say it, God made this happen. God did this, did. The same thing. God is energy, God is spirit, God is the universe, all of that. Okay? So, the higher being, the higher force that you believe in, this is what they're talking about. The experience induces a feeling of mystery and excitement, and as a result, we feel more alive. The priest told me that this is the experience that we've glimpsed and that we're now trying to manifest all the time. More people every day are convinced that this mysterious movement is real and that it means something else is going on beneath everyday life. This awareness is the first insights. Repeat that. The priest told me that this experience that we've glimpsed and that we're now trying to manifest all the time. Like when you realize when you randomly thought about something, right? Which this has happened to me. Really, when I think back, has happened to me all my fucking life. And that's why I always say, watch your words and watch your thoughts, because whatever you think, whatever you say, even if you're joking, that shit comes about. That happens in your life, really, really. Okay, like I remember, I have plenty of instances. That's like they think of it as, you know, when you say you manifest stuff, like you pray for something and it happens. That's exactly what it is. And then I think when you're ready for better in your life, to be a better person, that when you do speak up on things like this or you pray for things and they happen more frequently, or you're starting to see the coincidences, you're starting to see synchronicity where it leads you toward what you prayed for, what you asked for, what you were wanting to manifest. Experience, okay, told me that this experience that we've glimpsed and that we're now trying to manifest all the time. More people are every day are convinced that this mysterious movement is real and that it means something, that something else is going on beneath everyday life. This awareness is the first insight. She looked at me unexpectedly, but I said nothing. Don't you see? She asked. The first insight is a reconsideration of the inherent mystery that surrounds our individual lives on this planet. We are experiencing these mysterious coincidences, and even though we don't understand them yet, we know they are real. We are sensing again, as in childhood, that there is another side of life that we have yet to discover, some other process operating behind the scenes, i.e., God making shit happen. Spirit guides making shit happen. Your ancestors are making shit happen. The universe making shit happen. You say you want something, bet I'm gonna give it to you. That's God telling you that, okay? The first insight, reconsideration of the inherent mystery of this that surrounds our individual lives on this planet. We are experiencing these mysterious coincidences. I'm like marking my whole book up. That's why I told you I'm not good at taking notes. I'd be marking the whole thing up. Shit. Then even though we don't understand them yet, we know they are real. We are sensing again, as in childhood, that there is another side of that of life that we have yet to discover, some other process operating behind the scenes. Charlene was leaning forward toward me, gesturing with her hands as she spoke. You're really into this? You're really into this, aren't you? I asked. I can remember a time, she said sternly, when you talked about these kinds of experiences. Her comment jolted me. She was right. There had been a period in my life when I had indeed experienced such coincidences and had even tried to understand them psychologically. Somewhere along the way, my view had changed. I had begun to regard such perceptions as immature and unrealistic. For some reason, I had stopped even noticing. Yeah, when you start seeing these coincidences, these synchronicities, you view it as a coincidence, and you're like, oh, it's just that's a coincidence. People blow out coincidences like that's nothing. Oh, that's just the same thing happened twice in different timing, or you talking to somebody, or you thinking something, right? And you're playing music, you're playing Pandora, you're playing the radio, and whatever you're thinking, certain words that you were thinking, or somebody's name, a certain subject you're thinking about, right? And a song, or say someone you love, an ex or something, and or just someone you love, and while the music is playing, the next song that plays is y'all's favorite song, or your favorite song to that person, or like I said, the title of the song says a word or a name that you had was just thinking about. Okay. They're like, oh, that's just a coincidence. Nah, bitch, that's a synchronicity. That's a message, boo boo. Universe hears you. Universe is in sync with you. Angel numbers, you seeing 444 all the time, 1111 all the time, 2222, 2345, 1234. Like synchronicities, angel numbers. That's the message right there, boo boo. That means that's telling you that you are connected. The divine, the universe, the spiritual realm is connected to you. Wake up. Do you see me? That's what angel numbers mean. Do you see me? Because I see you. Stay connected. Or, okay, so let me tell you this one experience I had. I was in Miami. I was laying on the beach, and this was the last time I had lived in Miami, because I had lived out there separate, multiple times, separate times or whatever. So this is when I first got out there, and I was on the beach by myself, and so I'm laying out, whatever, tanning and stuff, and sunbathing, and if you know Miami, there's banners that's always be flying in the sky, and this banner has said something about people who's going to be at Club Live, and Birdman was on there. It said Birdman's going to be at Club Live, and when I seen it, mind you, I'm not into rap, so I don't really care about the rappers, but I know who Birdman is. So I told myself, I said to myself, I'm like, ooh, that'd be cool to to get to know. Oh, what fucking words? The exact words I said, but something along the lines like, ooh, that'd be cool to meet Birdman for whatever reason. I only said that because it was. I don't know why I said that, but I did. And baby, a month later, I don't know the exact time, but it was like a month later, maybe less, maybe a little more, I met Birdman. And unintentionally, it wasn't at a concert, it wasn't at a club, it was at a a on a yacht. A friend who became someone closer. It's like, hey, I'm in town. Me and my people, me and my friends, my buddies, we got this yacht. Come get your people, and come kick it with us on the yacht. And then we on the yacht, we chilling, we having fun, whatever. like a couple hours go by, I go down the bottom part because I had jumped off. I mean, I have videos. I had jumped off the yacht into the water, so I've been in the water. I've been having fun, and then I get to the bottom. After I go to get in the shower, go clean off, and then I go in the living room part in the yacht, and then seeing that Birdman was sitting right there, I'm like, oh my god. I'm like on the yacht with Birdman and them, and later on, I'm like, damn, I was just saying on the beach not too long ago that that'd be cool to run into to meet Birdman, and I did. And it wasn't in the club, it wasn't in the concert or any kind of setting like that. It was just chilling on a yacht. And then after that, I'm through a friend at that time, you know, I'm kicking it with my friend. We're really technically right then and there. This is when I'm realizing I don't want to do what I'm doing anymore. You know, this is my transition out of my past life and basically my retirement, unintentional retirement, because I didn't even know I was. But so Birdman had told my friends like, you need an assistant, you need help with what you're doing, because come to find out, my friend was working at the time. He set me up, but whatever. I still have fun. And so I was like, oh, I'd be your assistant, because I was trying to look for work. I was trying to get out of the nightclub scene and come into the real world. And so my friend was like, bet. So I started working with him. And so I talk about meeting Birdman. I was seeing Birdman like every other day, every weekend, every week. Not me personally, but because my friend who I was helping and working with, he was working with Birdman. So I'm like, damn. I kept thinking back. I was just saying on the beach, I'd be cool to meet Birdman. Not only did I meet him, I had been kicking with him, been up in his condo with other people. It wasn't, and on his tour bus, did a little tour with him, and then met somebody else, and did some other things, and just music videos, and then went to a club, but was in section with him, and it wasn't no groupie shit because everybody that was in the section was artists or people who worked with them, and it was only like three girls. One of the girls, Toya, that was with not with Birdman, but you know they all grouped up, and then there's one chick that was with Lil Wayne, and then it was me and maybe one other girl possibly, and amongst a whole bunch of guys. This is all work, and I'm just like I'm just flowing with everything. Like I can't believe that all this is happening, only because I said I don't want to do this anymore. The life that I was living, and that just random thoughts that would come up in my mind was actually manifesting. And I wasn't even trying to manifest that shit. When I said that about, oh, that'd be cool to meet Birdman, that's only because I saw the banner and that was the first thing that came to mind. I wasn't be like, oh, I really want to meet Birdman. Like, no, I was just like, oh, that'd be cool to run into him. And that's just one instance. I've had a lot of those type of instances where random things pop up in my mind and it manifests like moments later or like soon after that. So that's when people ask me, are you a psychic? I'm like, I don't know. Am I a psychic or am I a manifester? Or is that the same thing or is that two different things or am I both? I don't know, because all I know is when shit pop up in my mind, the shit happens. But did I manifest that or did I predict that? I don't know. Probably both. Okay. Charlene was leaning forward toward me, gesturing with her hands as she spoke. You're really into this, aren't you? I asked. I can remember a time. Okay, I already said all this. Hold on. No. I can remember a time, she said sternly, when you talked about these kinds of experiences. Her comment jolted me. She was right. There had been a period in my life when I had indeed experienced such coincidences and had even tried to understand them psychologically. Somewhere along the way, my view had changed. See, like you'd be thinking of shit, you'd be open to the shit because you see it happening, but then like real life kicks in and you forget about this stuff, or maybe bad things happen or challenges happen, and you're like, oh, that shit was nothing. I was tripping. I had a lapse of judgment or some crap like that. Somewhere along the way, my view had changed. I had begun to regard such perceptions as immature and unrealistic for some reason, and I had stopped even noticing. I think because, like I said, we're always spiritual beings. It's just the beginning of life. We're only in our ego. We're not aware of our spiritual self. So at a point in time in life, I would think it's a point in time in the age, like when you hit a certain age, but it doesn't necessarily happen because it'd be young folks waking up. Okay, so I just it comes to a point in time in your life when, like maybe like I said at the beginning, 2012 is when I cold turkey quit. Like I didn't want to be in the nightlife anymore, and then that could be a time where I could see some synchronicities, some coincidences, but and even though I noticed it, I'd be like, nah. Or the instance with Birdman, or being on the beach thinking that, and then a couple weeks later or a month later, I'm like, you see that, but and you may be aware of it at the moment, but you forget, because life goes on, time pass or whatever, or you so caught up in it that you forget and don't notice all the other synchronicities and coincidences. Anyways, I looked directly at Charlene, then said defensively, I was probably reading Eastern philosophy or Christian mysticism at that time, and that's what you remember. Anyway, what you're calling the first insight has been written about many times, Charlene. What's different now? How is how is a perception of mysterious occurrences going to lead to a cultural transformation? Charlene looked down at the table for an instant and then back up at me. Don't misunderstand, she said. Certainly this consciousness has been experienced and described before. In fact, the priest made a point to say that the first insight wasn't new. He said individuals have been aware of these unexplained coincidences throughout history. That is has been that this has been the perception behind many great attempts at philosophy and religion. But the difference now lies in the numbers. According to the priest, the transformation is occurring now because of the number of individuals having this awareness at the same time. Told you it's happening in masses. People has always been, awoken all throughout humanity, but it's like spurts, like one individual here and then 1,000 people later is there. Now it's happening in masses of people. And I think because the reach, having the internet, having social media, people broadcasting, people recording and broadcasting their experiences, and other people are watching and looking like, ooh, it's a trickle effect. And this transformation is occurring now because of the number of individuals having this awareness of the same time, and it's because of evolution. This smartphone and internet, social media, this ain't been happening all throughout humanity. How when did social media come about? Somewhere in the 2010s, huh? Was it the decade of 2010? Or was it 2000 or 2000? No, it wasn't 2000. It was like 2010 time, huh? She's probably not even that. Yeah, when did social media come about? And even before then, the internet, smartphones. This is not. They've been forever. This is new shit. Okay. Yeah, I'm sitting here thinking I probably do a couple chapters a night, bitch. I'd be lucky to get through a whole chapter of all my talking shit. What did he mean exactly? I asked. He told me the manuscript says the number of people who are conscious of such coincidences would begin to grow dramatically in the sixth decade of the 20th century. He said that this growth would continue until something near the beginning of the following century, when we would reach a specific level of such individuals, a level that has a critical mass. Okay, so he said, okay, the consciousness of such coincidences would begin to grow dramatically in the sixth decade of the 20th century. So what is that? That's like 1960, when people in mass numbers started waking up. What happened in the 1960s? When did the television come out or the radio? I don't know. History buffs, let me know what happened in the 1960s to where people in mass numbers started consciously waking up to what's going on. Okay, the number of people who are conscious of such coincidences would begin to grow dramatically in the sixth decade of the 20th century. He said that this growth would continue until sometime near the beginning of the following century. So that's 100 years later. Within the home, when we would reach specific level of such individuals, a level I think of as critical mass. Have a critical mass. 100 will continue until sometime near the beginning of the following century. So was that 2000? Following century. So that's the year 2000, right? I believe so. Yeah. The next 100th year, which is 2000. When did the internet come out? When did smartphones come out? It wasn't smartphones because I graduated high school in 2004. That was like sidekicks. Was the internet open at that time? Began at the time? I don't remember. The manuscript predicts, she went on, that once we reach this critical mass, the entire culture will begin to take these coincidental experiences seriously. We will wonder en masse what mysterious process underlies human life on this planet, and it will be this question asked at the same time by enough people that will allow the other insights to also come into consciousness. Because according to the manuscript, when a sufficient number of individuals seriously question what's going on in life, we will begin to find out. The other insights will be revealed one after another. God damn, I started about 8 o'clock on. It's 2 hours already. It's crazy. Okay, so the manuscript predicts that once we reach this critical mass, the entire culture will begin to take these coincidental experiences seriously. We will wonder en masse what mysterious process underlies human life on this planet. And it will be this question asked at the same time, but enough people that will allow the other insights to also come into consciousness. Because according to the manuscript, when a significant number of individuals seriously question what's going on in life, we will begin to find out. So the other insights will be revealed. So when, just like energy, the more energy you have, what's a good example? I don't even fucking know. Okay, that's like being in a room. And when you're in a room by yourself and the AC is on at 70 degrees, you're pretty cold, right? But the more people that comes into the same room, it don't feel as cold because human bodies give off energy, right? Give off heat. That's energy. So when the whole room is full of all people, 100 people in this one room, it's going to be hot. What was once cold, there's no change in the AC, in the temperature in the AC. What was once pretty chilly, with 100 people in the room, it's hot as fuck. They're like, turn down the AC. It was cold before all these 100 people come. That's energy. So what they're saying is that people are energy, right? So the more people, thoughts are energy, words are energy. So the more people that's on the same frequency of wanting to experience more out of life, questioning life itself, questioning these coincidences, like I'm noticing these coincidences. What is it? And then more coincidences and synchronicities coming, and more people are conscious of it, thinking of it, questioning of it. The frequency of humanity, the frequency of this earth is going to rise where everybody's going to be on the same wavelength, expecting more out of life, questioning life, like what's really going on the other side, the other realm, the other dimension type of things, like, okay, God, I see you. I really see you unfolding in my life. What's more, God? Instead of being too much in ego and self, people are more like in tune to the universe, more in tune with spirit, more in tune with God. When more people are in tune to that, our frequency, our energy rises. Because to be connected with God, to be connected with the universe, to be open minded to it, we have to be on another frequency. We have to be in another vibration, a higher, right? Because when you out in the streets acting bad, being a little thotty, being a you know, on demon time, you know, being reckless, doing crazy things, having fun, you're not too much connecting with God. And not saying you don't believe in God. I'm not saying you don't pray or you don't say thank you when shit happen or good things happen, but you doing you. You thinking for yourself. And that's why there's always a lot of ups and downs and a lot of crazy shit happening in your life, a lot of, roadblocks and challenges and just whatever, always failing at certain things is because you are in your ego. You are in what you want to do instead of connecting with God and the universe and letting God and the universe and divine take control and guide you, right? Okay. She paused to take a bite of food, and when we grasp the other insights, I asked, then the culture will shift? That's what the priest told me, she said. I looked at her for a moment, contemplating the idea of a critical mass, then said, You know, all this sounds awfully sophisticated for a manuscript written in 600 BC. She's like, I know, she replied. I raised the question myself, but the priest assured me that the scholars who first translated the manuscript were absolutely convinced of its authenticity, mainly because it was um, written in okay, this what language is this? uh, uh, Aramic, uh, Aramaic. Okay, I'm chopping that word all the way up. Aramaic. Aram. Where's Siri? Oh, fuck the phone. Anyways, it's written in another language, the same language in which mo in which in which much of the Old Testament was written. See, that's why I couldn't pronounce it because it was written before our time. Okay. Okay. Here's the word again. Fuck. Aramaic. Aramaic. It's South America. How did it get there in 600 BC? The priest didn't know. Does his church support the manuscript? No, she said. He told me that most of the clergy were bitterly trying to suppress the manuscript. That's why he couldn't tell me his name. Apparently, all talking about it at all was very dangerous for him. Did he say why most church officials were fighting against it? Yes, because it challenges the completeness of the religion. How? I don't know exactly. He didn't discuss it much, but apparently the other insights extend some of the church's traditional ideas in a way that alarms the church elders who think things are fine just the way they are. I see. The priest did say, Charlene went on, that he doesn't think the manuscript undermines any of the church's principles. It, if anything, it clarifies exactly what is meant by these spiritual truths. He felt strongly that the church leaders would see this fact if they would try to see life as a mystery again, and then proceed through the other insights. Okay, that he, okay, that he doesn't think the manuscript undermines any of the church's principles. If anything, it clarifies exactly what is meant by these spiritual truths. He felt strongly that the church leaders would see this fact if they would try to see life as a mystery again. See life as a mystery again, proceed through the other insights. Did he tell you how many insights there were? No, but he did mention the second insight. He told me it was a more correct interpretation of recent history, one that further clarifies the transformation. Did he elaborate on that? No, he didn't have time. He told me that the second insight it is a more correct interpretation of recent history. So she's saying that the priest said that the second insight is really telling you what really the correct interpretation of recent history, one that further clarifies the transformation. Did he elaborate? No, he didn't have time. He did. He said he had to leave to take care of some business. We agreed to meet back at his house that afternoon, but when I arrived, he wasn't there. I waited 3 hours and he still didn't show up. Finally, I had to leave to catch my flight. You mean you weren't able to talk with him anymore? That's right. I never saw him again, and you never received any confirmation about the manuscript from the government. Nope, none. And how long ago did this take place? About a month and a half. And for several minutes we ate. For several minutes we ate in silence. Finally, Charlene looked up and asked, "So what do you think?" "I don't know," I said. Part of me remains skeptical of the idea that human beings could really change. But another part of me was amazed to think that a manuscript which spoke in these terms might actually exist. Did he say, did he show you a copy of anything? I asked. No. All I have are my notes. Again, we were silent. You know, she said, I had thought of I had thought you would be really excited by these ideas. I looked at her. I guess I need some proof that what this manuscript says is true. She smiled broadly again. What? I asked. That's exactly what I said too. To whom? The priest? Yes. What'd he say? He said that experience is the evidence. Experience is the evidence. What did he mean by that? He meant that our experience validates what the manuscript says. Our experience validates what the manuscript says. When we truly reflect on how we feel inside, on how our lives are proceeding at this point in history, we can see that the ideas of the manuscript make sense, that they ring true. She hesitated. Does it make sense to you? I thought for a moment. Does it make sense? Is everyone as restless as me? And if so, does our restlessness result from the simple insight, the simple awareness built up for 30 years that there is really more to life than we know, more than we can experience? I'm not sure, I finally said. I guess I need some time to think about it. I walked out to the garden beside the restaurant and stood behind a cedar bench facing the fountain. To my right, I could see the pulsating lights at the airport and hear the roaring engines of a jet ready for takeoff. What beautiful flowers, Charlene said from behind me. I turned to see her walking toward me along the walkway, admiring the rows of petunias, and I know I'm butchering the names of these flowers, but oh well. A row of petunias and begonias, which border the sitting area. She stood beside me, and I put my arm around her. Memories flooded my mind. Years ago, when we had both lived in Charlottesville, Virginia, we had spent regular evenings together talking. Most of our discussions were about academic theories and psychological growth. We had both been fascinated by the conversations and by each other, yet it struck me how platonic our relationship had always been. I can't tell you, she said, how nice it is to see you again. I know, I replied, seeing you brings back a lot of memories. I wonder why we didn't stay in touch, she asked. Her questions took me back again. I recalled the last time I had seen Charlene. She was telling me goodbye at my car. At the time, I felt full of new ideas and was departing from my hometown to work with severely abused children. I thought I knew how much children could transcend. I thought I knew how Okay, Lord. I thought I knew how such children can transcend intense reactions, the obsessive acting out that kept them from going on with their lives. But as time I had pro- but as time had progressed, my approach had failed. I had to admit my ignorance, how humans might liberate themselves from their past was still an enigma to me. Okay, so even though I butchered that paragraph, he worked with abused children, and he thought working with them he could help them grow out of that because he thought that after childhood people grow out of that behavior, out of that trauma. But he later realized that not really. Looking back over the previous 6 years, I now felt sure the experience had been worthwhile. Yes, I also felt the urge to move on, but to where? To do what? I had thought of Charlene only a few times since she had helped me crystallize my ideas about childhood trauma. Childhood trauma. Now here she was again back in my life, and our conversation felt just as exciting as before. Realize I came across a post, someone talking about, who was it? Was it, I think, the Hood Healer? She was talking about how either she talked about it or she posts a meme talking about it. It may have been her talking about like therapists. Even though it's kind of smart to talk to a therapist to get to get your self talking, but really therapists, they don't really help. They really just put a band-aid on shit. They really medicate shit. They're not really helping people out of their trauma and elevating in their lives. They're just finding ways to distract it, covering up possibly, or just re-experiencing it again. I guess I don't know. I've only gone to therapy once. I felt good being able to open up to somebody, but probably that's probably what therapy is, just being able to open up to somebody and trusting that that person is not going to judge you or talk about you behind your back, you know. But that's all they're there for, is just to let you vent. Are they really helping you, elevating you in your life, and helping you transcend through your trauma, or realize your trauma and transcend out of it? The core of your trauma, which happens in childhood. Okay, so I guess I got totally absorbed in my work, I said. So did I, she replied. At the paper, it was one story after another. I didn't have time to look up. I forgot about everything else. I squeezed her shoulder. You know, Charlene, I had forgotten how well we talk together. Our conversation seemed so easy and spontaneous. Her eyes and smile confirmed my perception. I know, she said. Conversations with you give me so much energy. I was about to make another comment when Charlene stared past me toward the entrance to the restaurant. Her face grew anxious and pale. What's wrong? I asked, she turning to look in that direction. Several people were walking toward the parking lot, talking casually, but nothing seemed out of the ordinary. I turned to face Charlene again. She still appeared alarmed and confused. What was it? I repeated. Over by the first row of cars, did you see that man in a gray shirt? Ooh, excuse me. I had ate before this, so that's my food burping. Ugh. I looked toward the parking lot again. Another group was exiting through the door. What man? I guess he's not there now, she said, straining to see. She looked directly into my eyes. When the people at the other tables described the man who stole my briefcase, they said he had thinning hair and a beard and wore a gray shirt. I think I just saw him over there by the cars watching us. A knot of anxiety formed in my stomach. I told Charlene I would be right back and walked to the parking lot to look around, careful not to get too far away. I saw no one who fits the description. When I returned to the bench, Charlene took a step closer to me and said softly, do you suppose this person thinks I have a copy of the manuscript? And that's why he took my briefcase? He's trying to get it back. I don't know, I said. We're going to call the police again and tell them what you saw. I think they also ought to check out the passengers on your flight. We walked inside and called the police, and when they arrived, we informed them of what had occurred. They spent 20 minutes checking each car, then explained that they could invest no more time. They did agree. They did agree to check all the passengers boarding the flight Charlene was on. After the police had left, Charlene and I found ourselves standing alone again by the fountain. What were we talking about anyway? She asked. Before I saw that man, we were talking about us. I replied. Charlene, why did you think to contact me about all of this? She gave me a perplexed look. When I was in Peru, the priest was telling me about the manuscript. You kept popping up into my mind. Remember that. She was no, mind you, these people haven't seen each other in 6 years, in so many years. Okay, no contact, never seen each other. She's in a whole different country doing research about something, Met this priest about this worldly new research and insights and stuff or whatever. And the person that kept popping up in her mind is this man that she hasn't seen and talked to in years. That's a coincidence. Why was this man popping up in her mind? Okay. When I was in Peru, the priest was telling me about the manuscript. You kept popping into my mind. Oh yeah? Let me highlight that because that's important. Oh yeah? I didn't think too much about it. I didn't think too much about it then. But later, after I returned to Virginia, every time I would think of the manuscripts, listen, I would think of you. I started to call several times, but I always got distracted. Distracted. Then I received this assignment in Miami that I'm headed to now and discovered after I had boarded the plane that I had a layover here, which I don't know where here is. um, hold on. Then I received this assignment in Miami that I'm headed to now and discovered that after I had boarded the plane that I had a layover here. When I landed, I looked up your number. Looked up your number. Like she went to the yellow pages to look up this guy's number. Well, she didn't say that, but she said looked up your number. Your answering machine said to contact you at the lake only in an emergency, but I decided it would be okay to call. I looked at her for a moment, unsure what to think. Of course, I finally replied, I'm glad you did. Charlene glanced at her watch. It's getting late. I better get back to the airport. I'll drive you, I said. We drove to the main terminal and walked toward the embarkation area. I watched carefully for anything unusual. When we arrived, the plane was already boarding and one of the policemen we had met was observing each passenger. When we approached him, he told us that he had observed everyone scheduled to board and no one fit the description of the thief. We thanked him, and after he had left, Charlene turned and smiled at me. I guess I'd better go, she said, reaching out to hug my neck. Here are my numbers. Let's keep in touch this time. Listen, I said, I want you to be careful. If you see anything strange, call the police. Don't worry about me, she said. I'll be fine. For an instant, we looked deeply into each other's eyes. What are you going to do about this manuscript? I asked. I don't know. Listen for news reports about it, I guess. I think I'm almost done. I know. Right when I looked at the clock, 10:23, when I was about to say it, I should almost be done. Yes. Got one more page. Sorry, 2 hours, 2.5. That's because I've been talking. Book club. Okay. What if it's suppressed? She gave me another of her full smiles. I knew it, she said. You're hooked. I told you. Okay, hold on. I fucked it up with my little commentary. Okay, hold on. Don't worry about me, she replied. I'll be fine. For an instant, we looked deeply into each other's eyes. What are you going to do about this manuscript? I asked. I don't know. Listen for news reports about it, I guess. What if it's suppressed? What if it's suppressed? She gave me another full smile. I knew it, she said. You're hooked. I told you you'd love it. But what are you going to do? I shrugged. See if I can find out more about it, probably. Good. If you do, let me know. Now he's interested. Before he was skeptical. Now he's like, I don't know. Let's see about it. It's a mystery, and I'm into it. We said goodbye again, and she walked away. I reached as she turned around and waved, then disappeared down the boarding corridor. I walked to my truck and drove back to the lake, stopping only for gas. When I arrived, I walked to the screened porch and sat in one of the rockers. The evening was loud with crickets and tree frogs, and in the distance I could hear a whippoorwill, whatever the hell that is. Across the lake, the moon had sunk lower in the west and set a rippled line of reflection down toward me on the water's surface. The evening had been interesting, but I was still skeptical about the whole idea of a cultural transformation. Like many people, I had been caught up in the social idealism of the 60s and the 70s, and even in the spiritual interest of the 80s. So, what was the 80s? When was the hippie era? And what happened in the 80s? Ooh, see, I was in history class, but I wasn't too much paying attention. I'm not a history buff, but I just know a lot of changes was happening during the 1900s. um, but it was hard to judge what really what was really happening. What kind of new information could possibly alter the entire human world? It all sounded too idealistic and far fetched. After all, humans had been alive on this planet for a long time. Why would we suddenly gain insight into existence now at this late date? I gazed out the water for a few more minutes, then turned off the lights and went to the bedroom to read. But the thing is, like, if you really look back, there's been so many changes in human life, so many evolutions. I mean, think back to cavemen. Are we still cavemen? No. Is there still dinosaurs? No. Like, there was the ice age, there was the, everything else, whatever. It's been a lot of evolution, so why not be open to thinking like some big change is happening? It's always been changes, some big changes. Okay. The next morning, I awoke suddenly with the dreams still fresh in my mind. For a minute or two, I stared at the bedroom ceiling, remembering it fully. I had been making my way through a forest searching for something. The forest was large and exceptionally beautiful. Ooh, remember that part because that's important too for the story. Okay, he had a dream. Okay, I had a dream. Uh, he was making his way through a forest searching for something. The forest was large and exceptionally beautiful. And at that time, at that moment, like if that was you, you would think like, why was I having a dream being in the forest? I mean, it was beautiful, but how is that relevant to my life? Keep that instance in mind, okay? In my quest, I found myself in a number of situations in which I felt totally lost and bewildered and unable to decide how to proceed. Ooh, that's it may not seem important now, but later in the book, remember this remember this part. In my quest, I found myself in a number of situations which this is part of his dream still, which I felt totally lost and bewildered, unable to decide how to proceed. Incredibly, at each of these moments, a person would appear out of nowhere as though by design to clarify where I needed to go next. I never became aware of the object of my search, but the dream had left me feeling incredibly upbeat and confident. Wow, I forgot about this part when I first read it. This is an important part. Okay, this is his dream. He said he woke up from his dream and he still remembers his dream vividly. How often do you dream? And when you wake up, do you remember exactly what happened in your dream? 90% chance of times you don't. The other 10% is because there's probably messages in that dream. Okay, let's reread this. Okay, mental note. The next morning, I woke suddenly with a dream still fresh in my mind. For a minute or two, I stared into the bedroom ceiling, remembering it fully. I had been making my way through a forest searching for something. The forest was large and exceptionally beautiful. In the in my quest, I found myself in a number of situations in which I felt totally lost and bewildered, unable to decide how to proceed. Incredibly, at each of these moments, a person would appear out of nowhere as though by design to clarify where I needed to go next. I never became aware of the object of my search, but the dream had left me feeling incredibly upbeat and confident. Baby. I've had those dreams before where I wake up like when I'm dreaming, the dreams feels real, but I know that I'm dreaming. And when I wake up, I still remember the dream. And throughout the day, I still remember the dream vividly. And then later on, something happens or something has been said, and it reminds me of my dream. That's a vision. That dream was a vision. That dream was a message, baby. Wake up. I sat up and noticed a beam of sunlight coming through the window across the room. It sparkled with suspended dust particles. I walked over and pulled back the curtains. The day was radiant, blue sky, bright sunshine. A stiff breeze gently rocked the trees. The lake would be rippled and glistening this time of day, and the wind chilly against a swimmer's wet skin. I walked outside and dove in. I surfaced and swam out to the middle of the lake. Excuse me. Turning on my back, turning on my back, and to look at the familiar mountains. Look at the familiar mountains. The lake rested in a deep valley where the mountain ridges converged. A perfect lake site discovered by my grandfather in his youth. Hmm. It has it had now been 100 years since he had first walked these ridges. Damn. A child explorer, a prodigy growing up in a world that was still wild with cougar and boar and Creek Indians that lived in the primitive cabins up the north ridge. He had sworn at the time that one day he would live in this perfect valley with its massive old trees and seven springs, and finally he had later to build a lake and a cabin to take countless walks with a young grandson. I never quite understood my grandfather's fascination with this valley, but I had always tried to preserve the land, and even when civilization encroached, then surrounded. Okay, so that's just a message in itself. His grandfather, as a kid, wanted a surreal area to live in the mountains and the creeks. Even though during that time it was nothing but cougars and bears and Creek Indians that lived in primitive cabins, he still had a vision, swore at the time that one day he would live in this perfect valley with its massive old trees and seven springs, and finally he had later to build a lake and a cabin. So what this kid envisioned, he brought to life. And now not only did he bring it to life for himself, his grandfather, he brought it to life for his grandson. A vision coming to life. Dreams do come true. Them visions do come true. From the middle of the lake, I could see a particular rock outcropping near the crest of the North Ridge. The day before, in the tradition of my grandfather, I had climbed to that overhang, trying to find some peace in the view and in the smells and the way the wind whirled in the treetops. And as I had sat up surveying the lake, the dense foliage in the valley below, I had slowly felt better, as if the energy and the perspective were dissolving some block in my mind. A few hours later, I had been talking with Charlene and hearing about this manuscript. So basically, he was admiring the beauty of the environment he was in, the lake, the mountains, the ridge, and remembering the history of that of his the land that he's in the home that he's in, the cabin that he's in, remembering that this is his grandfather's dream that came true, and this guy is just relishing in it. He's seeing the beauty of it, okay, and then seeing basking in the beauty of the views. He remembers this manuscript. I swam back and pulled myself. Oh, and then with relishing in the beauty of this environment, his energy lifts. Okay, he's feeling lifted. I swam back and pulled myself up on the wooden pier in front of the cabin. I knew all this time. I knew all this was too much to believe. I mean, here I am hiding out in these hills, feeling totally disenchanted with my life. And then out of the blue, Charlene shows up, explains the causes of my restlessness, quoting some old manuscript that promises the secret of human existence. Yet I also knew that Charlene's arrival was exactly, hold on, Charlene's arrival was exactly the sort of coincidence of which the manuscript spoke. Charlene showed up in his life, popped up in his life 6 years later, out of nowhere, talking about something, enlightening him of what he's experiencing at that same moment. Coincidence. Okay. Okay. Yet I also knew that Charlene's arrival was exactly the sort of coincidence of which the manuscript spoke, one that seemed too unlikely to be a mere chance event. Anybody would have blown up, oh, that was a coincidence. That's nothing. That means nothing. No, boo boo. Coincidences are something major. That's God. That's the universe talking to you, okay? Could this ancient document be correct? Have we been slowly building, in spite of our denial and cynicism, a critical mass of people conscious of these coincidences? As a whole, right? As a societal whole, people don't believe in magic. People don't believe in coincidences. People don't believe in synchronicities. People don't believe, like, something just lit up over there. That's weird. Um, people don't believe in, you know, I mean, God, Jesus, don't believe in destiny, that people having a destiny. People don't believe in, connecting with the universe or mysticism, magical stuff. None of that, right? We just believe we're supposed to wake up, go work for somebody, or build our own company, and just be a provider, be a nurturer, party, have fun, travel, and then die. I mean, yeah, but there's more to life to that than that. Life is not supposed to be so damn challenging. It's not. Okay. We have been slowly have we been slowly building, in spite of our denial and cynicism, a critical mass of people conscious of these coincidences? Were humans now in a position to understand this phenomenon, and thus finally to understand the purpose behind life itself? There's more to life than being a slave to the mundane, a slave to working for other people, a slave to poverty, a slave to challenges, a slave to trauma. Huh. What I wondered, would this new understanding be? Would the remaining insights in the manuscript tell us, as the priest had said? I faced a decision. Because the manuscript, I felt a new direction open up. Oh! Because of the manuscripts, I felt a new direction open in my life, a new point of interest. The question was what to do now. This is good too. The question was what to do now. I could remain here or I could find a way to explore further. The issue of danger entered my mind. Who had stolen Charlene's briefcase? Was it someone working to suppress the manuscript? How could I know? I thought about the possible risks for a long time, but finally my mood of optimism prevailed. I decided not to worry. I would be careful and go slowly. I walked inside and called the travel agency with the largest ad in the yellow pages. Yellow pages! Yo, when was it? Yellow pages! Yellow pages. When's the last time anybody... Yellow pages? Evolution. Okay, anyways. The agent with whom I spoke said he could indeed arrange a trip to Peru. In fact, by chance, there was a cancellation I could fill, a flight with reservations already confirmed in a hotel in Lima. I could have the whole package at a discount, he said, if I could leave in 3 hours. 3 hours, baby, coincidence. He made up his mind about he made up his mind about how he wanted to pursue the knowledge of this manuscript, the knowledge of human existence, of human beings evolving and figuring out the reason behind human existence. Now that he is open to it, now that he's curious, now that he wants to know, he's willing to go. That door to that journey has just opened. And when you follow your intuitions, when you follow your instincts, when you follow these coincidences, when you follow the synchronicities, everything just flows. And when everything flows, that means everything that is meant for you, that's supposed to happen for you, it comes to you. You attract it. He decided, at first he was skeptic about it. Like, what? A manuscript dated from 600 BC telling us what's going to happen in the year 1990 in the 1900s to 2000s? Nah. But he was once he thought about it more, he was awakening to it. Like, damn, hold on, shit's starting to add up. Shit's starting to make sense because it's been happening in my life. Oh fuck. Now he's thinking about it now instead of being skeptic and pessimistic about it. He's being optimistic about it. He's like, shit, I'm bored with my life. I didn't quit working the job that I was working and starting just chilling in my grandfather's cabin that's ducked off in the boondocks. Like, now he's excited. Now he wants to know more. So he calls a travel agency, and the travel agency is like, you got a whole package at a discount if you can get here by 3 hours. Discount, whole package. A reservation that was canceled by someone else, you can have it. Coincidences, boo boo. If he wasn't supposed to take this trip, if this manuscript was a lie, was a fantasy, was this wasn't his journey, there would have been no flights. He wouldn't be able to make it. But that flight was in 3 hours to Peru from somewhere in the United States. Baby. That's the door opening, and he took it. That's the end of the first chapter, baby. This is... How long? When did I start? It's like a 2-hour, 3-hour reading. That's cool. One chapter, chapter 1. That was really good. If y'all eventually watch this video and went along with it, y'all would, be awoken to the synchronicities of this book and what happens in your life. When you really look back, you have to really look back in your life. That's why history class is really important. Learning history is really important. It's just the thing with schooling is that they don't tell all the truth, or they tell one side of truth, and that sometimes that side is not even all the truth. So it's so hard to really know all of the truth of history when we're taught not the whole truth. But if you go yourself and research things, you'll find out more truth to the history. And when you look back in history and realize the evolution of mankind, the evolution of countries and the humanity of this earth, of your life, look back since your childhood. Remember life since your childhood, throughout your whole life to now. Your whole life has been an evolution. Change is happening, So how can you not believe that there's more to how can you be a skeptic and not believe there's more to life than was taught to us? When you open your mind to the mystery of life, to God, the universe, the spiritual realm, and all that, and when you're thinking about it, you're opening it to it, and you start seeing these coincidences and synchronicities and angel numbers and all this, you're like, dang, oh shit, and then you're following these coincidences, you're following your intuition, and life starts to get easier. You're feeling better, you're feeling happy, feeling more energized, even when you do have, mind you, everything happens in divine timing and divine intervention and divine guidance and everything divine, right? And if you follow it, life flows. And granted, though things happen in divine timing, what you are expecting to happen in your life, or what you are manifesting, what you're asking, and the intent you're putting out there, you can get it, but at times it's going to take time, right? And sometimes when you're having to take time, meaning you having to be patient, your ego creeps back in and be like, see, it's not happening. What you're trying to manifest, what you pray for, it ain't happening because it ain't here yet. And you start getting the doubts and the fears, and if you let that overcome you, your process could slow down, or you could block it because you might take another route when you're supposed to keep going forward. But the reason why you stopped going forward because you was in a time where you had to wait. That waiting period is what fucks people up, because that waiting period tests your faith. It's the universe testing you, God testing you, like, do you really want this? Because you can have it. And most likely, if you're having to wait, it's because it's for you, right? Universe you say you want something, God is like, okay, right? And it's part of your plan, it's part of your path. It'll start you, right? You're rolling, right? But then when a big transformation is happening in your life, you're in a waiting period. And it's that waiting period where it's testing your faith and your belief in yourself and in God and the universe. And and during that time, that's when a lot of people give up, because it's like, I'm having to wait and nothing's happening. So that's where, I think that's where we're at as a society terms, right? I'm assuming, at least, I can see it because I've been there. But when you're really ready, when you really ready to transform your life, when you really elevate it energetically, and you're ready and willing and have been raising your vibration, and when you are in a waiting period, no matter what's happening, no matter how long you have to wait, you're keeping your faith. Because with you keeping your faith, knowing that you are going in the right direction, knowing that you are learning as a human being and as a spiritual being, you're learning, you're growing, you're healing, you're releasing, right? You're releasing control, you're releasing trauma, and you're releasing control. Life is just flowing. That no matter what's happening, what's not happening, or is happening, the ups and downs in life, you don't trip. You just flow, because you know you are divinely protected, you're divinely directed, and you're divinely guided, and you're divinely loved. You don't have to worry about a damn thing, no matter what's happening. And at the end of the day, no matter all things that happen in life, you are grateful. You are grateful for everything, the good, the bad, the ups and downs, the for the great things and the small things. You're grateful for everything, and you see the beauty of everything and everything in life. And when you're in that energy, that big that waiting period, if you had to wait a long time, I feel like, because it's a big transformation, a big transition that's happening in your life, to where you go from like here to like here. Okay, baby, I believe it, and I've seen it, I've experienced it, and that big transformation is happening right now. I already know it. I'm in that waiting period, but while I'm waiting, I'm still working, I'm still believing, I'm still having faith. All right, guys. Maybe I continue start chapter 2 next tomorrow. I don't know. We'll see. Either tomorrow or the next day. Because I still do readings. I'm still going to record zodiac readings and personal readings. Okay, guys? Thank you for tuning in. This is day 1. And I enjoyed it. Thank you. I see y'all next time for chapter 2. Bye.